You just caught me getting ready to go see Captain America Brave New World in theaters. I'm very excited. I love Captain America. These Captain America movies, they hold a special place in my heart. So, what you're seeing right now is a voice from the past. I haven't gone to see it yet. I'm going to go see it in a couple of hours, but yeah. I guess you're going to find out in just a couple of seconds if I thought it was good right now. Yeah, the movie was pretty fire. I thought I was going to talk about it all tonight, but it's like 10 and I'm kind of tired. I don't think I'll get to it. I think I'll get it tomorrow morning, which doesn't mean a thing to you guys. You could just keep on watching and it's like nothing happened. Okay, now I can talk about it. Man, this movie was... it was cool, and I know that it was good because it's been a couple of days, and usually after a couple of days I really cement down like what my opinion of a movie actually was. And sometimes it changes drastically, but after a couple of days of just mulling over this movie, I like it more than when I first saw it. But first, before we talk about what this movie is, I want to talk a little bit about what it isn't. I do not believe that this is a political movie. While it has a lot of the same tropes and dressing that you might see in a more political action movie, I would say this is a family drama kind of movie. Now let me explain, and while I explain, let me go ahead and give you the basis of what this movie is. I'm going to go over the non-spoilery type of review first, and then I'll go ahead and give you some more spoilery stuff after we get past that. The movie begins with our hero Sam Wilson, Captain America, chasing after this mysterious vial that has a mysterious sample in it, and the Serpent Society was trying to sell it off to some buyer who never showed up to the location. Captain America, with the help of the new Falcon, Joaquin Torres, they capture the sample and they take it back to the White House, where it is now in safe custody, awaiting to be sent back to Japan, who the sample originally belonged to. After this successful mission, Sam Wilson and Joaquin Torres are both invited to go to the White House for a big presentation about this treaty and what that mysterious sample was all about and what we're hoping to accomplish with it. And Sam says, sure, I'm willing to go, but in order for me to show up, you need to invite Isaiah Bradley. And unfortunately, this is kind of where we run into some of the problems I have with this movie. Not even just this movie, but like the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe in general. Like, I remember when Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness released, and it was a fun time. I had a lot of fun watching it, and Sam Raimi directed the heck out of that movie. But in order to fully understand it, you had to have watched WandaVision. I watched WandaVision before I saw Doctor Strange. My brothers did not. They didn't enjoy the movie nearly as much as I did, and of course, you know, there's personal opinion and personal bias that can be associated with that. But I think a big part of what dipped the enjoyment for my brothers and helped me enjoy it more was the fact that I did go see WandaVision. But I really hope that doesn't like scare you away from going to check out Captain America Brave New World, because I had a lot of fun with it and it was a great movie. There are some movies I would recommend that you watch like right before you get involved with Captain America. First, I would go check out The Hulk, all the way back from 2009, The Incredible Hulk, because this movie in a lot of ways is kind of a sequel to that one. I would also recommend that you check out Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because a lot of plot points from that are going to be brought up in this, as you could probably imagine. It's the same lead character. And then there's one detail from Eternals. The Celestial Island, that's kind of like the center hub of the MacGuffin of the movie, that's going to be brought up, but it's just that one detail. So you don't need to watch the movie, just know that something happened in that movie. You see, when our heroes get to the White House, we have the new president, President Thunderbolt Ross. He's the general who went after the Hulk, and the original actor was recast with Harrison Ford. He's now the president. He won this big presidential election on the platform that all of us need to work together now that we've kind of grown past Thanos snapping away half of the universe and the Sokovia Accords and like all of this wacky stuff. that he was controversially really involved in. And his whole goal is he's trying to prove that he's a better person, prove that he's changed for his daughter Betty, who kind of hates him after the events of the Incredible Hulk. And so the president invites everybody to sit down and says, okay, guess what? We are really excited about this big international push all of us are making to mine this mysterious metal that came out of this celestial. You know, the celestial that dropped in the middle of the ocean from Eternals. You know, that movie that nobody saw. But don't worry, this is the only detail that comes from that movie that we really need to worry about. We found this mysterious metal called adamantium. A big name drop for those of you who are fans of Wolverine. And all of us are working together to make some kind of treaty so that nobody can hold a monopoly over adamantium. Yeah, and that's what we're here to do. And Captain America rescued the one sample that Japan had, and now everybody is happy, everyone's working together, everything is great. And as soon as he says that, Isaiah just snaps. Something wacky happened, and he stands up and he fires at the president. And it's not just Isaiah, it's a whole bunch of people. There's other politicians and Secret Service members who just out of nowhere, out of the blue, go nuts and start attacking Ross. Eventually, Sam is able to track him down, and Isaiah is just blank. He has no idea what happened. He just, as far as he's concerned, he woke up in the middle of this park and everybody is just waiting to arrest him. This sends Captain America and Falcon on this big international trip, scavenger hunt, to try and figure out what happened. What happened to Isaiah? What happened to the Secret Service? Why did they go nuts? And at the same time, we have President Ross, who's trying his hardest to keep this treaty together when after this event, all of the other countries don't necessarily want to be a part of it. In the early parts of the movie, Ross is doing all kinds of work. And he's working on this treaty specifically so he can get back into the good graces of his daughter. That's why I say this is a family drama movie, because that's the heart and soul of what's going on here. Ross's character arc is, I promise I changed. Please believe me, here's all of this work proving it. So that's Harrison Ford covered. He gave a fantastic performance as General Ross, President Ross, and the Red Hulk. Like, he acted his heart out. It was one of the best performances I've seen from him in a while, but let's talk a little bit about Sam Wilson as Captain America. I remember when John Kent was introduced as Superman in his own little mini-series. Well, it turned into something of a mini-series by the end of it. And I remember very specifically noticing why that book was so hard for me to like. And it was because so often, it felt like almost every other page, John had to show up and talk to Lois, or talk to his boyfriend, or talk to whoever else, like just whoever, and be like, oh, I'm not going to be the Superman my dad was, I'm going to be the Superman that Earth needs me to be. And it's like, what did you think? What did you think Clark was doing this whole time, huh? And that's been a big problem with so many legacy characters that pop up. They talk about how other they are, and they make their differences their entire identity. And it's not even just their differences. It's specifically being different than the first guy. And before I went to watch this movie, I read a lot of Captain America comics, and I found that there are a lot of times when Captain America is in the comic book, but Steve Rogers isn't. There's a lot of people who've been Captain America throughout the comic book history of the character. But the thing that all of them do is they all respect Steve Rogers. Nobody ever puts down the original Captain America. They bring their own interpretation to it. They bring their own identity. They bring their own culture and their own worldview into what it means to be Captain America, and they expound on that. And Sam Wilson does a great job of this, both in the comics and in this movie. In the movie, he never puts down Steve Rogers. He never tries to say anything like, oh, there's no way that Steve Rogers could have seen America the way that I see America. He doesn't try that. What he does is he brings his own identity into being Captain America. He really balances it out really well. And in the movie, his struggle is never about, oh, I'm going to have to do a better job than Steve Rogers ever did. No, it's always, I need to do the best job that I can do. I need to make sure I'm worthy of wielding the shield. I need to make sure I'm worthy of being Captain America. And it fits so well. They strike that balance really well, and I really appreciated that in this very important movie, where we're seeing one of the first times in especially the MCU, where somebody has to come in and take up the mantle of somebody else who came prior. They don't put down what happened before, they just celebrate what's going to come, and I love it. So the conversations and the questions, they're great. I had a lot of fun thinking about them and analyzing them and thinking about how the movie answered those questions. It was a good time. But, of course, not everyone is here to just watch the movies for the big philosophical questions. The action is great. The action is perfect. It's exactly what I needed Captain America action to be. You could feel that, like, the action scenes, they happen in real time. This is real choreography against real stuntmen. It helps give this movie a very distinct identity that fits really well with the other Captain America movies, particularly the first two. But then we have to acknowledge that this is a Captain America who does have the ability to fly. And those flight scenes, they are really cool. There's a dogfight. We see it in the trailer, but there's a dogfight in the middle of the movie where Captain America and Falcon are flying around against all of these fighter jets, and he has the shield, and he's just, hold on. He has the shield and he's flying, and the airplane is shooting at the shield, and it's bouncing bullets off, and he's slicing wings to ground the airplanes down, and it's awesome, and I had so much fun watching it. It looked so good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get into some more spoilery parts of this review. If you want to skip that, skip to whatever timestamp this is. That's where the spoilers are going to stop, and then I'll give you my final verdict. Captain America and Falcon are traveling around the world trying to figure out what happened at this event and how they can clear Isaiah's name. And it turns out it was all the leader being this Hulk villain. Turns out, right after the events of the Incredible Hulk, General Ross found the guy and said, oh, actually, hold on. You have a little bit of gamma radiation that's making you a little bit more intelligent than the average bear. I'm just going to let you keep gaining intelligence here, and you're going to become my personal think tank. Look, if you get me into the presidency, I'll pardon you. How's that? How's that for the deal? While that was going on, the President Ross recognized that he had really bad heart problems. He wasn't healthy. He was going to die if he didn't do anything about this, and he brought it up with the leader and said, hey, science can't help me, can you? And he said, sure. And he put the president on this very strict regimen of pills. Problem was, these pills, yeah, they helped cure his condition, but they also irradiated his blood with the same kind of radiation that turned Bruce Banner into the Hulk. And while they were out there, Captain America talked with President Ross and figured out what was going on, figured out this whole deal, and said, look, Mr. President, we can't do this. We have to acknowledge what happened here. We have to go public with this. We cannot mine this adamantium this way. And so the president agrees, and ultimately he tries to hold a press conference where he wants to explain what happened. He wants to come clean with the world, with the people of America, because he really is concerned about doing the right thing. He really has changed as a person. But then the leader jumps the gun, and he plays a recording of one of his phone calls he had with the president to the press that really doesn't paint him in a good light. And while President Ross is trying his hardest to explain, and the Secret Service is trying to pull him away, and the press are screaming at him, and everything is just becoming too much, it's overwhelming him, and he starts to Hulk out a bit, and turns into the Red Hulk, and we have that big fight, and it was a cool fight. Oh my gosh, I had so much fun watching that. There was all of this flying, and there was giant Hulk punches going up against the shield, and of course it's Captain America's shield, so it just goes and Captain America goes wah, and he throws the shield and goes ping 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 ping, and it was great. And eventually Sam is able to get Ross to calm down and to de-Hulk and de-escalate the situation. A couple months later, Captain America goes to prison to go visit President Ross, who turned himself in. He stood trial, he took his sentence, and he went to prison. And he's just there because that's what he feels like is the right thing to do. He and Captain America share a decent moment where they both have an understanding of each other. The whole movie, they were kind of at odds with each other about whether or not Captain America should be doing what he's doing, what his role is. But here they figure it out, and it's nice to see. But that's not the only thing. For the first time since the events of The Incredible Hulk, Betty Ross shows up, and she has a nice heart-to-heart with her dad. And it was wonderful. It was a beautiful moment in what was a beautiful movie. And then, of course, there was the big tease. Oh, there's other Earths and scary stuff, and Captain America will return. Yeah. Alright, so we'll just cut back here now. If you're back from the non-spoilery bit, welcome. If you saw the spoilery bits, yeah, it's a cool movie, am I right? And you know what I really liked about it was that it did exactly what I think every story after a big crossover should be doing. After Endgame happened, there's been a lot of conversation about franchise fatigue and what is the best way to proceed with a franchise after you've had a big event like that. Some people think that you need to up the stakes, but what I think is that you should lower the physical stakes anyway and raise the emotional ones. Alright, I have a comic book somewhere here. Here it is. This is The Amazing Spider-Man number 242. This book is significant because this is the first book that was released for Spider-Man anyway, after the events of Secret Wars. Secret Wars was the first big everybody is here kind of crossover that Marvel ever did. Everything is going to change after this. The whole world setup is going to be different. What do we do with that? Well, what we do with that is exactly what this book did. Spider-Man didn't have to deal with another cosmic threat right away. They didn't even build up to a cosmic threat. They just took a while to sit back and say, okay, what would Peter Parker's absence mean to his life? He's been gone for a month. What does that do to everybody? And that's what they explore after Endgame, because it is the tradition in Hollywood and in movies and in filmmaking. A lot of people thought that you had to elevate the stakes, but that's why I really love what these Captain America projects did after Endgame. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there was no multiverse shenanigans. It was just people reacting to what happened in a very down-to-earth and human way. It was very high stakes emotionally rather than high stakes physically. And that's what happened in this movie. I didn't have to worry about multiverses. I didn't have to worry about the whole world collapsing. I just had to worry about, okay, what is the fallout of all of the weird stuff that has happened and how do we clean it up? And see, what happens is if you do that, then what you've got a really strong emotional base that now you can build the next multiverse event off of. Captain America Brave New World sets up exactly that. A brave new world that we can build more great stories out of. Okay, so honestly, based off of that, I would highly recommend this movie to anyone. Particularly if you're interested in a fun action movie, if you miss the old MCU, we're talking phase 1 and 2, the early days, I would say pre-Guardians of the Galaxy era MCU, this movie is going to feel right at home in there. It is a true successor of the Captain America franchise. Also, it's well acted, especially Harrison Ford. It's probably no surprise to anyone, but Harrison Ford just runs away with it in this movie. He eats it up. He acts his heart out. It's great. So that's what I got for you guys today. Did you see the movie? What did you think? Let's talk about that. I want to hear your opinions. I want to hear more people's opinions. Go ahead and put it in the comments, and until next time, thank you for joining me. Have a great day, and remember to always be your best self.